Suriye geneline yayılmış 80 binin üstünde IŞİD militanı var. Hava bombardımanının olmayacağı belli. Ama
across Syria, there are more than 80,000 ISIS members. It is very evident that the airstrikes wouldn't do any harm on them. But their main intention is to expand an area for the PKK. They want to surrender a vast area to the PKK. Now, in order for them to have access to Mediterranean, both the deep states of Russia and the deep states of the United States are making effort. The intention is to make PKK dominate that area. If their intention is to fight against ISIS, then the other regions are closer to France, for instance. For instance, Libya. In Libya, France has a great dominion. Or they construct the ISIS strongholds in Nigeria or Yemen, but they don't do it. They turn their attention to Syria. Why? Because they want to help the PKK. The members of the Dajjal, the sons of Dajjal, are very meticulous about their own sons. As is stated in the Quran, the friends of Satan are friends of one another. Against the system of Dajjal, ISIS gives a fight. In other words, ISIS fights against the PKK. But the method the ISIS employs is not true according to the Quran. They must struggle in compliance with science and love. They shouldn't shed any blood at all, because in the Hadith, it is stated that when Jesus comes, I understand that in the Hadith it is stated that whenever Dajjal sees the Mahdi, he will melt like salt in water. So from this statement we understand that it will be a scientific struggle. In one verse of the Quran, God says, the hedge of Satan is very weak. Yes, but the methods of the Taliban, the methods of ISIS are violence, but violence has no room in the Quran and Islam. As Bediüzzaman says, we need to convince the civilized people because we are able to speak to them. Only if those people are unconscious, then some physical intervention can be done. But the method to combat against the civilized people must be to convince them. For instance, let's assume that there is a vulgar community. There is no room for speaking to them. They don't admit anything. Then, without giving any harm to them, for instance, if these people are killing one another, or if they are insane and killing one another, if they attempt to hurt one another, then that physical intervention must be prevented. That must be the kind of intervention. In brief, the deep states of Russia and the United States is to provide help to the PKK, to disintegrate Turkey, to make a line from the Black Sea to the Mediterranean and divide Turkey into two. This is the main objective of the Dajjal system. ISIS combats against Dajjal, the system of Dajjal, but they use the most obnoxious method of the violence. Because Dajjal sheds blood. Against blood, ISIS must approach with love, with knowledge, with friendship, with brotherhood. This must be the kind of method employed by ISIS. But as you notice, violence begets violence. Consequently, the system of Dajjal becomes more rampant. For instance, in the last 6 years, ISIS multiplied its power because of this violence. Because they resort to violence, they became stronger. However, they can't do it by violence. We will eliminate the method of the Dajjal.
Deccal'e karşı mücadelede Deccal'in kendi yöntemleri olmaz. Muhammedi Rahmani yöntemler gerekir.
In the struggle against the Dajjal, the methods of the Dajjal cannot be employed. We can only use the methods of our Prophet, which is compassion, love. But violence and dread is not acceptable. If ISIS came up with knowledge, love, then Islam would reign the world. In one verse of the Quran, God says, "Goodness and badness aren't same. You repel the badness, the vile, with the best of goodness. Then you will see those enemies becoming friends with you." This was a loose translation.
Bir daha ayet oku.
Şeytanın Allah'a sığınırım. İyilikle kötülük eşit olmaz. Sen kötülüğe karşı iyilikle tepki ver. Sonra sana düşman olan...
Just read that verse once again. Goodness and vileness are not the same. Repel vileness with goodness, then those enemies will become a warm friend for you. MashaAllah. This is the verse. The verse is very evident. This means that love overcomes every problem. Love settles all problems.
Siz anlatıyorsunuz. O şekilde sevgiyi bilip öğreniyorlar.
Evet. Deccal kendi yöntemleriyle ortadan kalkmaz.
You preach love and Islam in this way. This is how people learn it. Yes, the system of Dajjal cannot be removed by its own methods. This is the what is wrong about ISIS. We cannot respond violence with violence. We should only respond them with knowledge and wisdom. Let's initiate a hashtag